Well, hello and welcome once again to the DCL podcast, where we're inviting you to sit back, relax, and we'll be on our way shortly. Well, welcome back to the DCL podcast, your podcast to help you and your family cruise a little smarter. And I'd like to welcome our co-host, Chris Bright. How are you doing today, Chris?
I'm doing great. How about you?
Not too bad. Just kind of enjoying November. I can't believe it's November already.
Happy fall.
Is your house already turned over to Christmas yet?
Yeah, I have a thing where November 1st every year, I at least put something Christmas up right away. I decorate my house on the Disney schedule.
Okay. So you were tearing things down the night of the 31st to have it up by the morning of the 1st then, huh? November 1st, that is.
Sure was.
Well, let's go back in time a little bit, a couple days ago as we venture back into October. But I'd like to welcome to the show today Ryan from Tulsa. How are you doing today, Ryan?
I'm good. How are you?
Not too bad. I'm really excited to talk to you because we were kind of talking about this before the show. You have been kind of with us since the show started. I think you were like one of the first people I recognized on Twitter that kind of, either like things or whatever else when we first got started. And I really want to thank you for being along with us for so long. And I'm sorry it's taken so long to get you on the show itself.
You're welcome.
We are going to go all the way back to October and talk about your latest cruise, which was Halloween on the High Seas, right?
Yep.
Well, before we jump into it, I know this wasn't your first Disney cruise, so why don't you give us your cruising background and then talk a little bit about who went with on this cruise?
So, cruising background, I think my first cruise was in 2017. I'd never really been interested in them before, but then, I don't know, people I followed on Instagram went on Disney cruises and it looked fun. And I have a son who loves the hotel better than any other part of vacation. So I was like, it seemed perfect because the hotel comes with you everywhere. So we went on a 7-day on the Fantasy during Hurricane Irma. So
oh no,
turned into a 5-day.
I was just going to say, I don't remember how Hurricane Irma impacted it. So you had to leave early, basically?
Yeah, we got brought back early and then we got stuck in Disney World, which is not a horrible place to be stuck, but yeah, we couldn't fly out of Orlando, so we ended up shortening our cruise and extending our vacation.
Did Disney sort of take care of you throughout that whole process?
Trip insurance took care of us, but Disney gave us we got refunded for the days we lost on the cruise, and then we got a pretty good discount on a future cruise, so that's when I booked my next one, which was a 3-day Dream cruise in May, and then this cruise, which was another 3-day Halloween on the High Seas on the Dream.
So before cruising, did you guys go down to Disney World itself, or what's kind of your Disney background?
Yeah, I'd been a lot as a kid, and then for my 40th birthday, so in 2015, we took my mom and stepdad and my son and I went to Disney World for like a week. I mean, my son says he enjoyed the trip, but I feel like he enjoyed the hotel more than he enjoyed Disney World. So,
what hotel did you stay at? It must have been real good.
It was not even that nice. It was nice. It was, what's the DVC one, the original property?
Old Key West.
Old Key West, yeah.
Oh,
so,
I've actually never stayed there.
It's really cool if you want to hang out at the hotel a lot. I've got lots of activities and it's just kind of spread out. That would be my only complaint about Old Key West. It took 15 minutes to get from our room to the front of the resort on the bus.
Oh my gosh. That's the thing about Disney properties at Disney World. Some of them are massive.
Mm-hmm.
The only one we've stayed in that's like that is Saratoga, and that's just spread out all over the place. So I've never actually been to Old Key West, but I think it's kind of similar to that.
It is, because Saratoga is where we ended up when we got brought back from Irma. So it's similar. That one I didn't seem as spread out, but there was a hurricane coming, so we couldn't really go anywhere.
Oh my gosh. I'm amazed that your first experience on the cruise ship had a hurricane, and then you were like ready for more.
Yeah. My mom and my stepdad were on that cruise with us, and they have not gone back, so they didn't enjoy it. A bit more traumatized by the whole hurricane evacuation, but I thought it was fun.
Just kind of roll with the punches and back for more, huh?
Yeah.
I'm kind of thinking like, I mean, I don't know about you, Chris, but just we went to the first time I went to Disney World. I think I was in 8th grade, 7th or 8th grade, and we stayed off property a long time ago. But I don't really remember a lot about going to the parks, which is really sad. But I remember swimming in the swimming pool at the hotel in the rain in December, and I just thought that was so cool. So I could see where your son might be as a kid, you know, it's sometimes you just never know what's going to stick and what's going to, really interest them, I guess. So,
Yep. But yeah. So back to this last cruise was, I've been trying to talk my little sister, she's a huge Disney fan. She's like a season pass or annual pass holder. And I've been trying to talk her into trying out a cruise. And so she found a 3-day that she wanted to do and was going to take her daughter and 2 of our nieces. And so I said, can we crash your cruise party? And she said yes. So
it was her, your 2 nieces, your son, and you. Is that who went on this one?
And then we tried to talk another sister and my nephew into going, and then that sister got pregnant, so we took the nephew without her. So
okay.
My sister and I had 5 children.
Wow.
And how old is your son?
He's 10. My nephew's 10, and then the nieces were 7, 11, and 13.
Okay, so the kids clubs were utilized probably on this cruise, or not so much?
They were. It was nice because my son, I've always cruised with just him, and he's kind of shy, and I got him to go to the kids club one time before, and his cousins got him to go a few more times.
Well, let's just jump back into the beginning of it then. Being from Tulsa, did you guys fly down or did you guys drive down?
Oh, yeah, we flew.
Okay.
It takes long enough to fly.
Yeah. Plus with that whole crowd. And where'd you guys stay? Did you guys stay at Walt Disney World the night before, or where'd you guys stay before the cruise?
No, we stayed in Reunion, just like near Celebration, Florida. My sister found an Airbnb there. It was really nice. It was all decked out in Disney stuff and had a foosball table. So kids loved the foosball.
So the Airbnb fit your entire party?
Yeah, it had 3 bedrooms and then a fold-out couch, a full kitchen. I think we technically could have fit a few more people in there. It was nice. And we rented a minivan because there were so many of us. That was exciting for my sister and I. We have only children, so we don't usually drive minivans.
So did you guys go to the parks beforehand, or did you just kind of hang out there before the cruise?
Our first day, we kind of took it easy. There was a pool area this was like a condo with a neighborhood pool that you could go to that also had foosball. So our children just played foosball while my sister and I swam in the pool. And then we went to Disney Springs that night and then took a bus over to Caribbean Beach so we could ride the Skyliner. That was the day that it was closed to Hollywood Studios, so we could only ride it to Pop Century.
Okay, I have 2 very important questions. Mm-hmm. 1, where did you eat in Disney Springs?
Well, we didn't eat at Disney Springs.
Oh, okay. Well, then that question doesn't matter as much. And 2, was the Skyliner terrifying or was it totally safe and okay?
It was safe. I'm afraid of heights, so that was a little bit terrifying. And it did stop at some point. The Epcot one, the one that broke down, that one, we got stuck on it for 5 minutes. But
it wasn't the sort of thing where you were like, I'm not going to be able to get on this because it stops too often or it's too unstable.
No, I was more afraid of the heights. I liked the one that went to Pop Century was a lower one. The one that goes to Epcot's real high up. So I thought that one was scary.
I actually hadn't heard that. So they're different heights. That's good to know.
Mm-hmm. We all went to the bathroom and brought water. We were prepared.
I'm sure Disney's horrified that there are people even thinking about that before they get on one of their new transportation systems.
Yeah.
What did the kids think of it? Were they pretty excited about it?
Yeah, they loved it. It was pretty cool. We flew in Tuesday night and late. We got there midnight. And then that's what we did Wednesday. Thursday, we went to SeaWorld. I had not been to SeaWorld Orlando since I was the age of the children we were traveling with. It was actually really cool.
What was the best part about SeaWorld?
Yeah, honestly, the rides. I didn't realize it had so many rides. And they have the new Sesame Street area. I don't know if you've seen any videos of it, but it looks just like Sesame Street. It's really well themed. Oh, and they don't do the Shamu show anymore, but they do a sort of like interactive display with the orcas where they work with them to train them for like behaviors that they need to help to take care of them, like how they have to clean their teeth twice a day, every day. You get to sit at tables like 3 feet from the orcas.
I didn't realize that they did that. That you could still kind of have interaction, I guess, with the orcas and stuff.
Yeah, so they don't do the show where they do tricks anymore, but they still do, like our zoo does it with elephants. They do, show you the behaviors that they teach them that they use to for their health.
I feel like ever since that Blackfish controversy and the whole sort of thing happened then, SeaWorld sort of had to rebrand itself as like more about rides and conservation. So it makes sense that there's like really good rides, and also that the show has shifted from being like, look at these tricks, to like, look at what this whale does to stay healthy.
Yeah. So it was fun. We had tickets that included all we could eat food. So it was a pretty good deal.
Like a cruise starting early.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of the cruise, let's jump into that. How did you guys get over to Port Canaveral? Did you use the minivan, or how did you guys get over there the morning of?
Yeah, we used the minivan. That's when we were pricing things out, because there were 7 of us. It was cheaper to rent the minivan and park it at Port Canaveral than to pay to do the Disney shuttles or any other of the car services. And that way we had transportation before and after. So we just drove over and parked. Since it was my son and I's 3rd cruise, but everybody else was their 1st cruise, they wanted to be there bright and early. So we got there right when the doors opened.
And how was embarkation this time, getting on the Dream?
It was really good. It was, we didn't have to wait that long. I think my son and my nephew, since he was in our room, we were like boarding group 7, but we waited for everybody else. They were boarding group 11. We actually got to take pictures with Minnie Mouse beforehand. I've never gotten there in time to do that.
Was she dressed as Captain Minnie?
Yes, she was. She was in her skirt. She didn't have her pants on, but she had her Captain Minnie outfit.
That's so cool.
When we went on ours, I don't think I ever saw her in her Captain Minnie outfit. I did see her in the Halloween outfit, but that was it.
I think she only wore it at Port Canaveral.
Well, this is a Halloween on the High Seas, so you guys are doing the 3-day, right? So it's the same one I think that we just got off on, which was the first day you embark, the second day you're in Nassau, third day you're Castaway Cay, and then you're back. This is your first Halloween on the High Seas cruise?
No, the Irma one was a Halloween on the High Seas.
Okay, so what did you guys do ahead of time to prepare for it? Were you planning on dressing up, or did you look into some of the activities? Just kind of curious for people that will be going on it next year, maybe some of the things that you guys did to prepare for it.
We sort of dressed up. We did more like Disney bounding. It was hard finding, and we wanted to do a group costume. It was hard finding one that would work for 7 people other than dwarves.
I was waiting to say that one.
But we ended up not actually doing a group. My nephew and my sister were Aladdin and Jasmine, and then the rest of us were like the Fab Five. But yeah, we had the Disney bounding costumes, and we also had the pirate outfits. So, I mean, we did very minimal prep for the Halloween part, actually. We wanted to have a costume, but we weren't like gung-ho into the Halloween part. This cruise fell during fall break is why we chose it. Not so much because it was a Halloween one.
That's kind of where we were too, but it was kind of cool to experience it. So you guys get back. This wasn't your first time on the Dream, because you'd done a 3-day before, right?
Yeah.
So you get back on the Disney Dream. What were your guys' thoughts as you got on board in seeing the lobby and the decorations?
It was awesome. I asked you about the pumpkin tree because my sister pointed out that the tree was, she's like, is it supposed to already have the pumpkins? I was like, no, I think it's like, it wasn't bloomed last time, but yeah, the pumpkin tree is pre-bloomed, I guess, if you have a 3-day cruise. But yeah, it's as amazing as ever. They didn't, I don't think the kids knew about the announcing your name when you come on the ship. We all have different last names. So my dad's name is Richard. We chose Richards as our family name, so we could all have the same last, we could have, one announcement for all of us. Were
they pretty excited about when they announced it then, the ones that hadn't been on the cruise
before?
Did.
Yeah, they were pretty excited. My youngest niece, she's excited about everything, so she was just fun to watch this trip. And they all like the little jack-o'-lanterns that they do on the portholes.
Oh yeah, those are pretty cool. It wasn't until the last day, I mean, this is how slow I am sometimes, that I noticed that I thought they were all the same, but they had several different ones.
Yeah.
Yeah. You probably noticed that right away, but was me. I'm on day 3 going, wow, look at that. They're all a little bit different. Hey, I did get a message on Facebook from somebody that did the 7-day, and they said that they stopped. Now, even on the 7-day, the pumpkin tree has the pumpkins on it. So,
really?
Yeah, so it sounds like that's just what they do now. That they don't. Huh. Yeah, like they used to, from my understanding, and you can correct me.
Yeah, there was it was like a little story time, and you planted little seeds on the tree, and then overnight the pumpkins just magically appear.
Ah, okay.
So, what kind of stateroom did you all choose?
We chose the cheapest stateroom we could find. It was my first time. We sailed on the inside, and it was the littler one, I think, 'cause it had just the one bathroom.
Okay.
But we had obviously two staterooms. We couldn't all fit in one. So, but yeah, this was our first time on an inside one, and I was kind of excited because I'd never seen the magic porthole before.
Oh, right, because you were on the Dream class. So
yeah,
you picked an inside, but you said you hadn't stayed in an inside before. So what types of rooms were your last 2 cruises?
They were both verandas. The first one was like midship, about on deck 7, and then my last one we had one of those ones on deck 9 on the back of the ship with they're a little bit cheaper.
Extended veranda.
The extended veranda, yeah.
Amazing. Okay, so you did the magic porthole live up to your expectations?
It did. It was really cool. It's the first night my nephew was at the kids club after he was going to be coming in late, and I didn't want him to be able to see, so I left the porthole on because it lights up the room, but just barely. And like 1 a.m, Rapunzel's lanterns just popped up on that magic porthole, and it lit up the whole room, and they did not go away. So, of all times, why 1 a.m? Most of the things just pop up there so quickly you barely see them. But those little lanterns, they hung in there for quite a while.
So how do you control the porthole then? Is there like a remote?
It's a light switch.
Okay.
No, there's a light switch, so you can just turn it off. It's like a TV.
And then how did the room work for with that? So you had 3 in one room, 3 kids in one room, and then 2 in your room?
Yeah. So I had the boys with me, and then all the girls were with my sister next door. And we had adjoining staterooms. I think like 2 of the girls slept in the queen bed, and we put the little one on the top bunk, and my sister took the bottom little twin bed because we're tiny people. We're like 5'3", so we can fit on those little beds. Since I just had the 2 boys, I got the queen bed to myself.
I guess, though, that you probably didn't necessarily experience the loss of the sort of 2 bathrooms because you had a split room that you could sort of go back and forth between the 2 bathrooms, or did you notice a big difference?
Not really. I kind of like the single bathroom better.
Interesting.
Yeah, I was always forgetting to turn the bathroom light off or on, and one of those, the bathroom door blocks the light, and then you got to walk all the way back out in the middle of the night. And so I kind of like the one bathroom, and the light switch was in a good location. Plus, I think it was a Disney Cruise Line blog guy. He had a tip to use glow sticks in there at night, so you can see it in the bathroom without turning the light on and illuminating the whole room.
I think that there's in my Facebook group for the cruise that we're going on in February, everyone's like, bring glow sticks. And I wasn't sure what they meant, but now I understand. It's for the bathroom.
For the bathroom. Mm-hmm. People use them for pirate night too, but we did not. We just used them for the bathroom.
With kids your age, I'm kind of wondering, as we turn to dining, which did you guys choose? Did you want the early dining or the later dining? Because we're kind of finding with our kids now, especially our older, who's now 13, he really likes the later dining. And since we're from the West Coast, it makes it. You're 1 time zone away from the East Coast, right? Or is it 2 in Tulsa? It's just one. Yeah. So what did you guys choose, and what did you think of that versus early versus late?
We've always done the late dining because. Well, I'd read that you could send your kids to the kids club so they wouldn't be stuck at dinner, but my son previously has never taken that, option. But I like it better. I think it's easier to have the early show and late dining. You don't have to rush back from the, any excursions. There's plenty of food if you get hungry before 8:00.
Yeah, you can just pop up to the top deck and get a slice of pizza or something if you're really hungry.
Yeah. We did late dining, and it seemed to work out well for the kids.
Which restaurant did you like the most?
Atmosphere, we liked Animator's Palette. Food-wise, Enchanted Garden. Royal Palace, is that the one that's on the third floor? That was probably my least favorite overall. That's the one I skipped. On my last 3 day, we skipped dinner our first night because we wanted to ride the aqueduct with no lines, and that's the one I skipped. But I went this time so I could try the escargot.
And your thoughts?
It was good. It tasted kind of like buttery mushrooms.
Yeah, it doesn't taste fishy, it's a snail, so it shouldn't taste fishy. Yeah. But it doesn't have like some weird distinct flavor. And plus with all the garlic and the butter that they put on it, it's just, it does taste kind of like a mushrooms, doesn't it?
Yeah, Enchanted Garden, I think, has that avocado and tuna tower.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I had that too this last cruise. It's one of the appetizers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I got an appetizer, 2 salads, and 2 entrees at that one. So that's my favorite.
Chris, you have some thoughts on the different restaurants. You've got some favorites too, right?
I think that Animators is like beautiful, and you're right, atmospherically, it's really cool. But the menu in Animators wasn't our favorite. We like Royal Palace for the menu. Enchanted Garden, though, the Dream Class ships have a fountain in there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and the flower lights above you, and it feels kind of intimate. And I think the Enchanted Garden has a cool vibe. The menu is pretty good. But I would say my favorite menu is actually Royal Palace. And also Royal Palace is right off the atrium, and it's that sort of like grand feeling when you walk in. So I don't know. I think for all of those reasons, it feels like classic cruising whenever you eat in the Royal Palace. So I love it.
Any thoughts on Cabanas or any of the other food on board the ship this time around?
Cabanas was better than I remember. We did lunch at Cabanas our first day there. It was really good. We did, since I had other kids to entertain my child, I got to do Palo. I've never eaten there before. My sister and I had brunch our second day, and that was delicious.
Yes. What did you order off of the menu?
That's a good question. I should have asked her. What I don't remember. Oh, I got the chicken parmesan. That's what she got. The lasagna. I got the chicken parmesan.
Okay. It's so fun because it's like a mixture of a really fancy buffet, but then they also give you a menu and you order food. So it's like you're basically getting so much more food than anybody could eat, and it's so fun.
Yeah, I was still full. We have late dinner. We ate, I think we were one of the last brunch people, so it was a late brunch, but I was still full by the time our 8:30 dinner rolled around. I told them it was my birthday. The cruise felt like a week after my birthday, so I said I was celebrating my birthday, so they brought me a birthday cake that night at Animator's Palette. So.
That's totally allowed. I feel like if your birthday falls in the month that you're cruising, you should totally be able to say that it's your birthday on the cruise.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know about your cruise, Ryan, but the last one we were just on, they must, and I'm not even kidding about this. They must have sang at least 5 times every night around and it was like the same. So it's the same group of people going from restaurant to restaurant. So there was at least 15 to 20 people that had birthdays, and like you're saying, Chris, I totally agree with you. As long as you're within that month, you should be able to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they sang "Happy Birthday" at least 5 times before they got to our table. I was like, oh.
Well, also they sing Happy Anniversary to the tune of Happy Birthday. So it's sometimes hard to know because there's happy anniversaries happening, there's happy birthdays happening, and they're just all around you every night.
Okay, you probably got a point there. I probably, with my hearing, who knows what they were saying.
Well, you didn't even notice the jack-o'-lantern.
I didn't. I know. I'm terrible, aren't I? Well, let's turn to anything else about food before we kind of turn it into the Halloween stuff.
No, other than we had amazing servers this time. I kind of thought after my last Dream Cruise, not that the last servers were bad, but they just weren't as good as the ones I had on the Fantasy. So I thought maybe they don't, put the B team on the Dream, but these guys were amazing. So the kids loved them. They fed our children hamburgers every night, even though I think hamburgers are only on the Enchanted Garden menu. So kept them entertained. The kids they were all really depressed to leave our serving team, even after.
You're right that a good serving team can really add that much extra magic to a cruise. We had a server that we loved on the Magic, and we just found out that she transferred to the Fantasy So when we go in February, we're going to request her, and hopefully we'll be able to get matched up with her because she was so great.
Yeah. I asked my nieces what was their favorite thing, and that was like one thing they listed was the serving team and housekeeping.
So, Chris, for the listening audience, how do you go about doing that? So do you do that once you get on board, or how do you, once you find a server, you know a server's going to be on board that ship again, how do you do that?
Yeah, so you can call Disney directly and just say like, hey, I have this request and I know that you can't guarantee it, and Disney will try. And that's all they'll tell you. They won't ever say like, yes, you will get this server, but they can note your preferences. If you're in like concierge, I think it's all but guaranteed. If you say like, I like this person, that they would put you with that person. But, you know, we've never sailed concierge, and we just sort of plan to call maybe like a month, 6 weeks out, just to make sure it's fresh on their mind. And hopefully we'll get matched with our person. Also, I actually don't know if this is allowed. I think it's allowed, but our server was like, add me on Facebook. So we're Facebook friends with our server. She's from South Africa. And so I messaged her just to be like, hey, we're on the cruise on this date. You know, let me know if you'll for sure be on the ship. So I think maybe the stars will align. I really hope they do. But basically you just call Disney and say, hey, I have a special request. I don't know if you can honor it. And they'll tell you that they're not sure. But from everyone I've talked to, it usually works out if you make a special request.
Yeah, we had a really good server when we were on the Magic last time too, and we'd really love to get him if he's on board this next summer. So we're gonna have to try that out. We're not friends on Facebook, unfortunately, but we'll definitely give Disney a call and try it that way. I guess one last question: did you guys have a table all together then, Ryan?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So we had no room for other families, but yeah, we had one big table.
Well, let's turn to the Halloween stuff. What did you guys experience for that, and what were your thoughts?
We thought it was really cool. My older two nieces got to go to the Sing and Scream. When we did it on the Fantasy, the Sing and Scream, that's where they do a Nightmare Before Christmas, and I guess you sing along with the movie. But when we did it on the Fantasy, that was at like midnight, and so I missed it. But this time it was on our Nassau day, and it was while my sister and I were at brunch. So my nieces, actually all three girls, went to that, and they got to meet Jack and Sally. That was one of their favorite parts of the whole cruise. And then we all got in our costumes, and they had little places where you could pose for pictures. And then we actually did the trick-or-treating, which was slightly confusing to figure out where to go. But once you got started, you just kind of followed this mad mob of people all over the ship, and they gave you candy.
Did you guys go to the Halloween tree when they talked, or the pumpkin tree that first night too, and see that by any chance?
No, we didn't do that one.
I thought that was really cool, but I don't want to give away anything for people that experience it next year. But I thought that was really cool. Yeah, that was the one thing that we, I guess, did. And as far as the Sing and Scream, your nieces, they really had a good time at that.
Yeah, they did.
And the one thing I kind of felt going on this was it's tough with 3 days to fit everything in. What's your kind of thoughts as far as having Halloween kind of in the morning, afternoon, and then turning into Pirate Night in the evening? Were you? I don't want to say were you happy with that, but what were your kind of thoughts on it?
I mean, they didn't have like any other options, so
right.
I guess, but no, I would. It was kind of a pain. We had to rush to get into the Halloween costumes, rush through trick or treating, head back to the room. I think that was Beauty and the Beast night, which my son had already seen because we've been on the Dream before. So we didn't go to Beauty and the Beast. They all went to Beauty and the Beast, and then we got into pirate outfits, did pirate makeovers, did dinner, and then watched fireworks. So my kid was exhausted by the time I had to force him to watch the fireworks. He was happy once they started, but he was ready to go to bed by the end of all that.
I didn't mean to turn it into negative whatsoever. It's just a busy day, and I'm with you. There's not much that they can do differently than what they do, but more just so people when they do a 3-day cruise with Halloween on the high seas, I just wanted to be so that they're kind of they know what they're getting into, I guess. That's all. Yeah,
and I guess that's probably the extent of our planning. Was I did know that Halloween and Pirate Night were the same, and like if you went, like that's why I didn't go into Nassau this time, because the cruise is so short, and with, everything you have to do on that day, we just stayed on the ship. I think if you got off the ship, you'd be exhausted by the end of that night.
And you'd probably miss all the Halloween stuff because most of the Halloween stuff happens during Nassau, right?
Yeah, you would.
I sort of think there's probably like 10 types of people or 100 types of people who go to Disney, but I'm going to simplify it and say there's 2 types of people. And I think that the 2 types of people are people who are like, let's jam pack everything. Let's go, 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 go. That's my favorite way to do Disney, right? They love the My Disney Experience app. They love having all their fast passes. They love going on every shore excursion, doing everything on the cruise. That's their way to do Disney. And then there are other people who are like, I want to go with the flow. I'm planning to spend multiple days at my resort pool or just like hanging out or, reading a book or doing whatever. And I think this 3-day is probably more for people who are like, go, 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 than like, let's say a 7-night, because on a 7-night, there's certainly plenty of time to literally just relax and you won't feel like you're missing things. But on the 3-day, it's like, no, if you like your day to be jam packed, this is like right up your alley and you probably will love it.
Yeah. And I was glad I'd done the 3-day before, because after the 7, even though the 7-night was cut short, I thought cruising was like a relaxing activity, but man, 3-night is not a relaxing cruise. It's exhausting.
Especially if you want to do everything that there is to do.
Yeah. I still I've never gotten to go to trivia. I've never gone to a drawing class. We did go see, this time we saw the Making of the Dream. That's like the only activity. I wanted to go to the nightclubs. The only time I got to go to the nightclubs was my nieces and I went to see Maleficent, and I only needed to see the first 10 minutes because I'd seen it earlier. And so the 7-year-old fell asleep in the first 10 minutes, so I got to walk with a sleeping 7-year-old through all the nightclubs. So they looked really fun.
So you missed out on seeing Chris do some of the adult entertainment games then, because he's on board. Mm-hmm. He's hilarious. I hope you get an opportunity in the future to see him.
Yeah, me too.
Let's turn to the Pirate Night stuff then. You kind of talked a little bit about anything else that we missed out as far as Pirate Night went before we go to Castaway Cay?
No, I can't think of anything. We just did the boys, and then the 7-year-old all did the pirate makeovers at the Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique, and they loved it. My nephew especially, he was really into his role as a pirate.
Well, talk about that a little bit. What were kind of the options for the boys as far as what were they able to pick out to when they went through that experience?
Just various versions of like beards and beat up makeup, so black eyes and scars. That's very different from the boys to the girls. My niece she got eyeshadow and glitter and this little jewel on her cheek, and the boys got scars and black eyes and face stubble.
Were they able to get like different hats? And I'm sure those are up charges, but like hats or swords and stuff like that as well?
It comes with a sword, like a little necklace that has a medallion and a key on it, an eye patch, a clip-on earring, and they get a little paper. Yeah, they roll dice, and the numbers on the dice help you choose your pirate name. So you get a pirate name, and you have to do your pirate oath. And the cast members there are really very good at their job. My son's very shy and did not want, actually, other than my nephew, none of our children really wanted to participate in the, saying their pirate oath, and they have to say yo-ho at the end. Yeah, it's fun.
But he got it out, and he is now an official pirate, huh?
He's an official pirate, yeah. This is his 3rd pirate makeover.
Oh, so he's a pro at it then?
He's a pro at it, yeah.
So does he have 3 different pirate names? Which one does he go by?
Yeah, I don't know.
I didn't mean to put you on the spot there.
He's not a big fan of the pirate names. He just likes the makeover, the beards.
And the black eyes.
And the swords, yeah. Mm-hmm. And he doesn't actually like the black eyes because I can't get the makeup off his eyes, and they look like he's got guy liner on.
I feel like Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique is a really cool thing, and it sounds like it's sort of part of your family's cruising tradition. You've done it on all 3 cruises.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yes, we have lots of pirate swords and lots of pirate necklaces, lots of eye patches.
Did you make the reservation for that ahead of time, or were you able to book that on the cruise?
Yeah, you can book it the day of. I did happen to have reservations for my niece and my son, but my nephew was kind of a late-minute addition and last-minute add to my room, and so he didn't have one, and I walked in at 6 o'clock that night, and said, can I add him to our 7:15 appointment? And they were like, yeah. I think maybe like if you were going to get a princess makeover, it's more complicated. I don't know. It doesn't take them that long to do the face paint for the pirates.
Is it pretty pricey or reasonable?
I think it's pretty pricey. I think it was like $40.
Okay.
I don't know. It could cost $40 for a sword down there in Mickey's main sale, to be completely honest, sometimes too. So.
Yeah.
I know, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've done it 3 times, so obviously I don't mind the price that much. But yeah, I wouldn't say it was a great value for my money, but I would do it again.
Yeah. So the next day you went to Castaway Cay. Did you book any excursions, or what did you do at Castaway Cay?
We did not book excursions because, well, they were canceled the last time we were there. So, and my son and I are really not beach people. He doesn't like the sand or the salt water, which I found out the hard way last time. So we just planned to do the bike ride, and the bike ride is amazing. Like, I didn't think we would get our $13 worth out of those bikes, but if you do the whole course, it took us well over an hour to do it. You can have, like, they have all different size bikes, and they have training wheels if you need them, have helmets. The course is basically, I don't know if you've ever done the 5K, but it's essentially the 5K, except when you get to Serenity Bay. I think the 5K course has changed to this now, but when I did it, you just went to Serenity Bay and came back. But anyway, you get to Serenity Bay and you take a right and you go farther down this little path to a secluded overlook where you can look out at the ocean.
Yeah, that pathway that goes basically behind the adult cabanas all the way to the end of sort of that beach. Yeah, it's really pretty out there.
Mm-hmm.
Did you climb the observation tower?
Yeah, we did that. Took pictures with all of the little artifacts out there. And
we did a show with Steve recently about Halloween the High Seas, and I forgot to ask Steve, so I'm going to ask both of you this question. Mm-hmm. Was there any hurricane damage on Castaway Cay, or how is it recovering?
I didn't notice any. I feel like the lookout area maybe was slightly more beat up than I remember it being last time, but...
I mean, every time I climb that tower, it sways a little bit, and I'm like, oh, it's safe. We're on a Disney cruise.
I didn't run the 5K this time, so I didn't make it back in that area where you were, Ryan. But as far as the beach area goes, I didn't really notice anything. We went out to Pelican Plunge, and that was all. Everything looked like it was in good working order, and the beach was amazing as always. So I really didn't notice any damage at all.
Cool. Well, I'm so glad. I feel like the hurricane barely missed Castaway, so it's good news.
I think I saw some videos from right after. I think a lot of sand blew up onto the walking paths. I think they had to reshape the beaches, but any damage they had was fixed by the time we were there.
You're a runner, Ryan. Have you done the 5K before, or how have you?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you do it?
I did it last time.
Okay.
No, because it takes forever.
Yeah.
You have to stand and you have to wait for the start, and you have to all walk to the start together. And I figured we'd rent the bikes and do the same path. And you or Christy told me it's the same medal. I don't need another medal, and it'd just be me running. Nobody else in my family runs. So
I have to throw this out there. So I've been there on the Magic, the Dream, and the Fantasy now. And the Dream did it this time when we were on it, even though I didn't run it. I did kind of pay attention. And the Magic did it the same way, where you had to meet at a certain place, and y'all walked out there together, like you're talking about, Ryan. The Fantasy, on the other hand, they just said, hey, the race is going to start between, I'm making this up, 8 and 9. Just show up in that hour and go. And so you showed up. They had all the numbers out there. You put your number on if you wanted to wear it. And then you ran. You came back and you got your medal. And I think that is so much more user-friendly. And it
is. I'd do that. If they did it that way, I would do it again. But I didn't want to stand around for an hour waiting to run. And then
I wonder if it's a function of the ship and who's running the ship and how they like to run that race. It's just interesting to me that one ship does it one way and the other two are doing it a different way. So yeah. I don't know. Do you have any experience with that, Chris?
So we signed up for the Castaway 5K when we were on the Magic. And it was a Marvel Day at Sea 5-day. And on that 5-day, if they do the Western, they have to get all the way from, Grand Cayman back to Castaway. They have 1 day to do it. And that's a very long trip. And so they are very often late landing in Castaway because the ship has to basically maintain speed and have ideal conditions to make it on time. And so our ship got back so late to Castaway that they extended the day by an hour and canceled the 5K and had us run it around the decks on the ship.
As you're pulling in.
As we were pulling in. So we were watching them sort of like tie the lines while we were running around and around and around on deck 4. But, you know, we got our medal, and we've also done the bike thing. So we actually have never gotten to run a real Castaway Cay 5K because we only did it on the ship itself. So I think I will for sure do it on our next trip, just because I've never done the real thing. But I could imagine that, you know, it's sort of a been there, done that sort of thing. And maybe you have like other things you'd want to do on the island. So that makes sense.
Yeah, I would definitely do it for one
the medal every year.
Yeah, that would be nice. Or just change the color so you can tell them apart.
Yeah, so you feel like you've achieved something different each year.
Mm-hmm. It's like there were hundreds of people running around the Magic.
Literally.
Wow.
It was actually, we were excited to do it because we felt like, wow, this is probably not something that happens every day. And the funny thing is, on deck 4, you can't actually basically park the ship and have people running all the way back where all that mechanical stuff is. So for those of you who've been on the ship a lot, the walking trail goes back into a section where it's kind of like big machinery is there and lots of chains and ropes and stuff. And so because they won't let you run back there while they're parking the ship or docking the ship, they made you actually cut through the interior of the ship on every lap. So it was a very hectic moment, and we did it, and it was fun.
Sounds fun.
Well, at least you get to make it outside. Could you imagine if you're just in the lobby running around and around on deck 4 or something like that?
I mean, please. The funny thing is, we like won some magical lottery that allowed us to get a cabana that trip. And so we were more so upset that we were getting there late, and it meant that we would have less time with our cabana, you know, because if you're going to pay all that money for one of those cabanas, then you better just stay in that cabana the entire day, because that's how you make it worth it. And so we were like, oh no, it's docking late. And I was like, I'll run this 5K, but as soon as we are docked, I am stopping. And we are going to our cabana, because that is what today is about.
That would be our luck, too. It would be like the day that they wouldn't actually make it be able to dock, or something would be too windy or something. It would be the time to get a cabana.
Yeah.
Well, I guess as we kind of finish things up then, how was that last evening and then getting off the ship the next day, Ryan?
It went really well. We actually had packed. I don't know how we managed to find time to pack during Pirate Night and Halloween Night, but we were mostly packed after night 2, so we didn't have to do that much packing. We wanted to see Maleficent when we got back from Castaway, so we like hustled back, and my sister and I went up to the spa to use their showers because we only had the 2 bathrooms, and we rushed back to see the movie, and then went straight from there to dinner, and still managed to get our suitcases out in time.
So are you the type of person when you see a movie in the Buena Vista Theater that you stop and get the popcorn and the movie theater snacks, or do you just avoid that and deal with it?
Well, the movie started 15 minutes before we got done showering, so I did not stop and get snacks. That was the first time I've ever seen a movie in the Buena Vista Theater. I never found time for it before.
What'd you think?
It was really cool. I liked it. Yeah, and then, like I said, that same night, my nieces they decided they didn't want us to go to the movie 15 minutes late, so they went to the midnight show, and it was a 3D one, and I thought it was really cool. It's nice to have that option on there. So, and then disembarkation went well. Like the last time I was on the Dream, we ended up, I think Steve mentioned this, but we got in, they kind of ushered you to like stand in line to get off the ship. And we stood in line for like, I don't know, it felt like 30 minutes waiting to just leave the ship. And then you have to stand in line in customs. And I was like, I'm not doing that this time. So we waited till everybody else left because we had late breakfast.
So you just found a spot to camp out?
Yeah.
I highly encourage that. If you're not in a hurry, you're not in a hurry to get to either Walt Disney World or the airport for some reason, like you're talking about, Ryan, because we started walking to get in the back of the line, and we just kept going and going, and the next thing you know, we were back in Animator's Palette, and it was winding around Animator's Palette to get to the very back part of the line, and as we made our way up to the lobby eventually, there's all these people up on deck 4 just kind of enjoying their coffee, looking down at us, and I was like, you know what, next time, we're just going to go up there if we're not in a hurry, so...
Do you know if Cove Cafe is open on the last morning?
It is, because I got coffee there.
Oh, see, that sounds like the ideal. Go to Cove Cafe, get one of those coffees and pastries, and let everyone else stress to get off the ship.
Exactly. And you can sit up there and watch it, too. It's kind of some fun crowd people watching, too. So,
Yeah.
or sit outside and up on the deck and kind of watch the sun come up and enjoy the scenery of the port itself. So,
But I will say for people listening that you may have less of an option if you had early dining. Because isn't it that early dining, they expect you to get off the ship before everyone else?
Yeah. If you're like in the lobby, they kind of encourage you to get in that big long line and get on out of there.
Because it's like early dining goes and eats, at like 7 a.m. or something super early. Their meal time is like between 7 and 8. And then late dining, their meal time is between 8 and 9. So they sort of expect you, those early diners, to leave the ship after they have their last breakfast. So you may not get to do the people watching advice that we're giving you if you have early dining.
the flip side is if you really want to get off the ship early, you can always carry your own bags off, and as soon as they clear the ship, you can just head right off. We saw people kind of making a beeline, and they were out and missed the lines before the lines even formed. So you can do it that way too. You can do it either way, or you can stand in line in the middle like we did this time. Well, kind of thinking back on this cruise, Ryan, is there anything else that we missed? Any highlights that you wanted to touch on before we finish up?
I can't think of it. I mean, we just had, we did a lot of character meet and greet since we had the 7-year-old. Oh, this was exciting. So my son will never go to the princess meet and greet with me. So I was pretty excited to have a 7-year-old girl who would go. I got to do the princess gathering where you meet all 4 princesses. And we also did the Elsa and Anna Frozen one that they do in Animator's Palette. So I've never gotten to do those before. Those were fun. All the meet and greets. And then they do that mass meet and greet thing that they do on the last night. The kids all
the farewell goodbye moment.
Yeah. Getting your last pictures. So I thought the food on Castaway Cay was a lot better this time than I remembered it being too. I don't know if Cookies 2 is better than Cookies 1, but we ate at Cookies 2 this time because that's where our server recommended, and I enjoyed it a lot more than I did my first trip to Castaway Cay.
So we've never eaten over by the family beach. We've only eaten at Serenity Bay because there's a couple of like adult only menu items. I think they have like steak or shrimp, or I don't remember, but it was like our server was like, go to the adult only one. Is Cookies 2 what they call the adult only one, or is it like there's
2 family
2 at the family beach? Okay.
Yeah, I think Cookies 1 is closer, like the first shuttle stop maybe, and Cookies 2 is farther out, closer to Pelican Plunge.
Okay. And Cookies 2 was better. Good advice.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I just thought the food in general was really good this whole cruise that we went on. I mean, I was really impressed by everything on the ship and also at Castaway Cay. So I don't know if something changed or if it was just, we really enjoyed everything we had all 3 nights.
Yeah, we thought the food was good. My nieces and my sister, they were all real impressed with the shows. The only show we went to was the Golden Mickeys because our last cruise was one of those where they were doing Beauty and the Beast 2 times and no Golden Mickey. So I'd never seen that one. So that was the only one I saw this time. But Beauty and the Beast on the Dream is amazing. And I've seen, is it Believe? Is that the one they do on the last night? The really sad one. My niece and the older girls saw that one. They saw that one. It's really good.
I love that one. I feel like I might have a problem, though, where I just re-see the shows, even if I've seen them before. I force myself into those seats because I just love the nostalgia of it. But
I would if it were a longer cruise, but on the 3, man, there's just no time.
No, you're right. I might reconsider on a 3-night too. Thinking back on Beauty and the Beast, how did you think it compared to the other shows that you had seen? Since it's newer, did you feel like it was more technological or better storytelling, or what did you think?
I think definitely better storytelling. My son and I both we liked Aladdin on the Fantasy because it's funny, and I thought the flying carpet, the dancing carpet is cool, and the flying carpet is also a cool little effect. But Beauty and the Beast is, I feel like, a whole nother level above the rest. The other stage shows are really good, but that one seems more Broadway caliber with the story.
I agree with you completely, Ryan. That's probably our favorite one that we've seen across the ships is Beauty and the Beast. But I want to go back to Castaway Cay for just 1 second. You were asking about hurricane damage. I was looking up where Cookies 2 was. We've only eaten at Cookies 1 every time. But did you notice this, Ryan? But the very last cabana is actually over the water.
No.
When we were looking at it, the very last cabana right now, and I'm looking at the map, and I guess I'll have to ask Christy about this, but if that's normal or not, or if that was a little bit of the damage from the hurricane, like maybe the sand being eroded away. But
yeah. I was kind of curious. So since my son doesn't like the salt water, I had not been very deep in the water last time. But my niece, we ended up with lots of little people left their little inner tubes, and so she was taking all the kids out, and you could go way out there, and she's 5'6", and she could walk the entire way. Is it the water always that shallow?
No.
With like the edge, like where the little floats are, like as far out as you could go, she could still touch.
I think it ebbs and flows, to be completely honest, and maybe it changes just for the nature of sand. But when we were there, we went past where the kind of jungle gym structure is, and it got to a point where you couldn't touch. And then when you got to, it's kind of a roped off area, and behind the roped off area is where the snorkelers are. You could definitely touch there, and all the snorkelers were snorkeling around and standing up, and they could touch there. So I don't know if it's always like that, or if that was kind of a function of sand being brought in from the storms, or if it kind of ebbs and flows a little bit. I know the one snorkeling place that's over by the Stingrays that we went in, the farther out you get, it gets fairly deep. But people were definitely standing up, I guess, in the snorkeling area behind that jungle gym area.
Yeah.
Chris, any thoughts?
Well, the further out in the snorkeling area you go, the deeper it gets, because you could basically go all the way out to the seawall in that snorkeling area, and that's where they have like the Nautilus, Sunken, and Mickey and Minnie. And there, I've never seen it shallow enough that you could stand. But the beginning part of the snorkeling lagoon, you definitely could stand for quite a while. And then Pelican Plunge, I'm pretty sure, is also usually pretty deep because the water slides, and it needs to be a certain amount of depth there, right? Just for safety.
Yeah, that was definitely deep. You had to swim out to it, and then when you came off the slides, it was definitely deep there. Yeah. So,
and because we're like Serenity Bay people, we can tell you that Serenity Bay is almost always walking. You could walk the farthest out as you want because it's very shallow over at Serenity Bay. And on more recent cruises, there's been a sandbar out there. So like, when low tide happens, you could walk out and literally lay on the sand and be surrounded by water on all sides. It's really cool.
Well, I guess as we kind of finish up here, Ryan, what's next for you guys? What's next for your family? Did you book another cruise while you're on board with an onboard, or get an onboard booking credit, or what's your guys' thoughts?
I booked a placeholder. I don't know what's next. My sister was talking about doing like an all family cruise there's 5 of us girls total. And so taking all of us and even more children and the grandparents we were looking at a Royal Caribbean one out of, I think, Miami, also Bahamian, because Royal Caribbean has their own little private island and it looks fun. Disney cruise wise, I'm not sure what we'll do next. I'd like to sail out of Galveston, but they don't sail out of there very often. Most of the cruises are, my kids in school.
Yeah, that's the tough thing with Galveston. We'd love to do the New Orleans ones, but once again, those like in February, and our kids are in school. I mean, we could take them out, but probably not going to do that just to go to New Orleans. But you're right. It would be nice if they could extend those a little bit longer.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping for. I was like, maybe with these new ships, they'll leave one in Galveston a little bit longer.
Well, thank you so much, Ryan, for coming on tonight and sharing your family's experiences. And I'm glad you got to go and see the princesses with your niece. My wife may need to borrow her sometime because she's been stuck with me and 2 boys, and I'm sure she would love to do that sometime too. So glad you guys had a great time, with your family together and all that you got to do on this trip on the beautiful Disney Dream.
Thanks for having me.
And thank you so much for being a longtime supporter of our show. We really appreciate it. And it's just been a pleasure to finally get to talk to you.
You're welcome.
Chris, any final thoughts?
No, I think that you all have sold me that at least it's worth the 3-night, even if it's fast paced, because it's still a Disney cruise. There's a lot of fun things on there, and you just have to go into it with the mentality of like, this is a fast paced cruise, and I'm gonna be fast paced, or just don't do anything and sit on deck all day. So yeah, I think it's great, and thanks so much, Ryan, for answering all of our questions and sharing a bit about what makes you passionate about Disney cruising.
You're welcome.
Well, that's going to wrap up our show today here on the 5th of May, Cinco de Mayo, 2020. Once again, I really want to thank Ryan for coming on and sharing her and her family's experiences as they sailed on the beautiful Disney Dream this past fall on Halloween on the high seas sailing. And as we continue to move into May now, I want to remind everybody that we are partnering up with some great podcasts to bring you the first and hopefully last running of the Quarantine Key 5K. Look for our website to find out all the information over at Facebook or on Instagram. Excuse me, I say website, but look at Facebook or Instagram to find out all the information on the Quarantine Key 5K. And you can go over to the DCL Duo podcast. They've got a link set up if you want to get a celebratory t-shirt. All of the proceeds from that t-shirt is going to Give Kids the World. So we're not keeping any of it. We are just sending it on to Give Kids the World. So once again, go to Facebook, Instagram, under DCL Podcast. You can find all the information there. I'd like to also thank all of you who've taken the time to go over to iTunes and leave us a review if you can do that, if you've got some free time, and we all have a lot of free time these days, it seems like, but actually sometimes you don't. It's kind of crazy how fast it goes by. But anyways, if you have the time to do it, we would love it if you'd go over to iTunes, leave us a review. That helps us get the show known a little bit better in the podcasting and the Disney Cruise Line community. Also, if you'd like to help support the show, you can do so through Patreon. We actually had last month our first Zoom Patreon meetup. It was kind of fun to do that since parks are closed, the ships are not sailing right now. There was just kind of a fun way to meet up with everybody that support the show over at Patreon. So go over to patreon.com/DCL Podcast. You can find all the information there. All right, between now and our next show, all of us here at the DCL Podcast, myself, Steve, Christy, and Chris, just like to wish you and your families all the best. Be well. And we'll see you next time on the next episode of the DCL Podcast. The DCL Podcast is not affiliated with the Disney Cruise Line, Walt Disney Company, Adventures by Disney, or Run Disney. All of the opinions expressed on our shows are those of the hosts and the guests who appear on the show. If you have any questions about any of these products, please contact the Walt Disney Company.